So we'll go over and highlight some grant writing, application tools and tips, quick overview on how to locate grantors that fund your programs or the services that you provide, and just things that you need to know when pursuing grant opportunities. So I'll have some examples in here of what the application looks like, some similar applications or general application processes, typical questions that are placed in proposals that you will need to have answers for. It'll also give you like a ready checklist for grant applications if you are interested in pursuing. We'll talk about foundation grants versus government grants, what grant reviewers look at, and what are their red flags. When someone actually reviews your proposal, when you turn it in, they're looked at by real people, humans, and so we'll discuss some red flags, where to search for government grant opportunities, and just general philanthropic opportunities to fund your services. A little bit about my background. These are some awards that I've recently obtained over the last year. Um, just to highlight some areas of expertise. So I'll have a background in homeless services, providing support, looking for funding for affordable housing, funding for direct services like at your after school programs, even for getting funding for items like books, diverse books for children, even getting funding to support salaries, technology upgrades. What else is on here? And then just like your general operating support. Oh, that plane is loud. K Fritz, the Morris and Gwendolyn K Fritz Foundation, they're a very large funder in the DC area. They do a lot of general support. So those are what you would kind of call like your bread and butter, your goal, who you would look for is you always want to get general support. Just because it funds general supportive services, you don't have to apply those funds directly to an item, or whether that be a salary, or if you just buying equipment or materials, you can use those funding to support your program, and that's even goes to people's salaries, which is important because you have to have that in order to run your programs or services. So you'll hear people use the term grant writing or grants or grant proposals. And just to break that down so that it's clear, grant or awards are monetary aid given to 501c3 organizations. The ones that we'll be discussing are for 501c3 organizations or nonprofits that are providing a worthy cause. And the actual proposal is what your answers to these questions that we'll go through later is stating what you will propose to do if you receive funding from a private or public agency. And when I'm saying private, I'm referring to your foundations, and public is government. So where do you even begin to locate organizations, funders that specifically give dollars to your programs? You're gonna have to do some research. So some tools that I use that work for me, there are tons and tons and tons out there. But I use GrantStation. A lot of these are paid and some of them are free. GrantStation is a paid tool, but it's a minimal cost. So I try to use free and low cost too. Grants.gov is free. That's where you can look at your federal government opportunities. The Foundation Center is located in a lot of metro areas throughout the nation. They have a database that is free if you come in-house, and you can look up a ton of resources there that you can save or email to yourself. Grantspace.org is a great source. GuideStar is a great opportunity. If you know there you have, let's say you're a nonprofit, you provide Meals on Wheels, and there's a similar organization in your community that you know provides a similar service. You can go on GuideStar, look at their 990 and see who's funded your kind of like your competitor for lack of better terms, because that will list all of the um, organizations that have supported them, and you can just start your search there. That's GuideStar. You can look up any 990. It's free of charge. You just create an account, and then I also use the Philanthropy News Digest. They send out a RFP bulletin, which is a request for proposal, um, weekly. So you want to see what is your programs or services that you provide. You provide an after school program and you're looking to expand into other areas. Like you're currently serving one school and you're looking to serve a school district, you can see what organizations are funding your programs, or looking to even partnering with some organizations that have received funding in the past, especially if you want to go after government funding. You can partner with someone. So just what you have to determine what's your strategic plan or priority programs for your organization. So that's a discussion that you'll need to have with your leaders and your board. Some federal funders, these are just a list. Again, there are tons and tons and tons. But because I started in education in regards to grants, I have Department of Education here at the top. You also have HUD, which is Housing and Urban Development. 21st Century Learning Center grants. I believe that's under Department of Education. They provide pretty large awards for organizations that provide your innovative, state-of-the-art learning centers, typically embedded in after-school programs or summer programs. It could be through the school or through a nonprofit. Department of Family and Children Services, Department of Homeland Security, EPA. I have Best Buy on here. They're clearly not a federal funder, but they have a community grant that I'm going to highlight. And Dollar General is clearly not a federal funder, and they also have a Dollar General Literacy Award that I've applied for and received funding for. So I just tried to highlight programs that I've had experience in collecting funding in. So Best Buy Foundation, I use them as an example because everyone's heard of Best Buy. Best Buy has a foundation, and they target programs that provide technology. So just a quick overview. Their community grant overview is programs should help teens build 21st century skills by utilizing cutting edge technology such as computers, digital cameras, video cameras, and professional software in a wide range of areas, including but not limited to, and they have a list. So if you have programs that deliver any of these services that you're teaching students and utilizing these skills, Best Buy awards grants, average grant size from $5,000 to $10,000. Again, it's their community grants. And it goes through the eligibility criteria here, which you must be a 501c3. Program must be located within a nonprofit organization targeting teens in underserved communities. You'll see a lot of that in grant proposals or RFPs or applications. We'll just use the word applications here so that we don't get confused. Underserved communities are serving, sometimes you'll hear at risk or under-resourced communities, or that's typically who, again, the programs and services that I'm discussing throughout this training is targeted for certain groups of people. Another eligibility criteria for this Best Buy Foundation, your program must operate within 50 miles of a Best Buy store or a Best Buy center. You must have a commitment to diversity and inclusion, which is really big now. Even a lot of organizations are providing DEI grants, diversity, equity, and inclusion. Just alone, if you're doing something within your organization, leadership training around that, that's a big push and launch that foundations are focused on. Another eligibility criteria, organizations that have engaged Best Buy employee volunteers will receive special consideration. So if you have a relationship with Best Buy and you're engaging their volunteers, you have a volunteer program. Another eligibility criteria, organizations that are within the Twin Cities 7-county metro area are eligible and can apply for Best Buy Foundation support through the Community Grants Program or Twin Cities Fund, but not both. And of course, if you receive the grant in the past, requirement for all grants, or majority of them, you must submit a report reporting on what you did with those funds and outcomes and impacts that took place because of the funds that were given to you. So this goes into more of the required elements of the proposal and what to include in your submission. And the first thing to ask is your organization mission, statement of nonprofit organization's mission and strategic direction. So that initially is kind of like question number one. Then you must define children served. I'm down here towards the bottom. And it'll tell you specifically what they're looking for. Describe how your organization reaches and supports teens ages 13 to 18. Include the number of youth served, the related demographic, gender mix, ethnicity, the percent of students that are receiving free and reduced lunch programs, which is a indication of poverty, because that goes back again to underserved communities, hours of operation, and your schedule of activities. So it's just showing you that your program has to pretty much be in place and running and showing impact, not something that you're looking to start. They require an implementation plan. Up here at the top, describe leadership opportunities for youth as well as the role of youth in planning and implementing programs and activities. Give examples of collaborations with organizations in your community. I can tell you right now that question is in probably every grant that I've ever applied for. Is partnerships, collaborations. Who are you partnering with? Who are you collabing with? Because funders want to see their dollars being maximized, being leveraged. And they do not want to see you operating in silo. Outline any proposed Best Buy employee volunteer activities where agreement or commitment has been secured with local store leadership regarding employee volunteering engagement. So that's an implementation plan alone. And then you have to go through your sustainability. Describe your volunteer program. Describe your program's reputation in the community and give examples of a demonstrated history of success. So again, this is a program that's been operating for some time with proven impact and outcome. And then there's additional question: measurement, brief narrative of your organization's budget, narrative of your program's budget, and list of other funding sources. And then it goes through the grant awards, grant period, the application's deadline, due date, and other details. So that's just a simple, quick example of general questions that are in most grant application. I just like to highlight that as well. Let me just make sure that I have this going. Okay. So you want to highlight in your proposal that you're showing how funders' dollars are stretched, programs that can be scaled, programs that are implemented in a neighboring program. You're partnering with other organizations. Again, like I said, funders like to see their money reach impact and impact multiple regions. You want to talk clearly when you're writing. Use rich, colorful, precise language. Don't use jargon that's only understood internally within your organization. If you have acronyms, making sure that you are clear with what you're talking about. Even STEM is generally known throughout that industry, but you still would need to detail that you're referring to science, technology, engineering, and math. You want the reader to even forget they're reading a grant application. It should not be boring. It should be engaging. You want to make an impact on emotion, pull on heartstrings, as well as provide statistics. We'll go through that later. Proposals are usually not funded because they don't have any energy and leave readers, and they do not leave the reader inspired, because real people are looking at these applications. Proposals are denied because they do not follow instructions, they're poorly written, or if they do ask questions in the example of Best Buy, you don't answer the questions. You write something, but it doesn't answer the question. You may even have an objective and action plan that exceeds the budget and implementation that what you're talking about. You want to make sure that all of that is in alignment. If it appears that the program cannot function without the grant, that's a sign of that it's not sustainable. That's an immediate red flag. And if the entire proposal is talking about why you should fund our agency, where the struggling poor little nonprofit. We need your money to survive. Again, does not show sustainability, or it doesn't sound like you're even ready for a grant. So you want to put together your budget first, even before you get to your application. You want to even just put together a budget, and your budget typically looks like this. You have your staff salary and benefits, occupancy, your rent and utilities, insurance, legal, accounting, equipment, supplies, printing and copying. You want to detail all of this out. So when you go for an app, to start beginning and writing for an application, you're going to go through this, and you can say, we have some equipment that we need funding for. We're going to request this equipment. So going back to Best Buy, they fund your audio production, coding, 3D design, and printing. If there's some equipment within their list of software that they support that's on your budget, you can directly speak to that. So you'll know exactly what you're requesting when you're putting together your application, and you want to, again, make sure that your talking points, your narrative is in alignment with your project budget. Some grants, typically federal grant proposal, they'll require matching funds. And that is put in place just, again, to leverage the dollars that are awarded by the funder. Matches sometimes can include in-kind services. They're not always monetary. Sometimes they are, but they will detail if in-kind is included in in-kind services or donated services to your program. Even you can even use donated salary time if you have a social media intern. You can put that in your budget as an in-kind services. You can look at what the salary for that service would be. If someone donates even equipment, that could be what's considered an in-kind donation. You would determine the cost of that equipment or product that you have at your organization. So sometimes you can use in-kind services, or sometimes you have to require true dollar amount. And sometimes matches will require maybe a 75% of grant reward. Sometimes it's 1-to-1. If we give you $5,000, you have to match with $5,000. And sometimes it may be if we give you $5,000, you only have to match with $1,000. But again, going back to federal proposals, those are typically much larger. So if your award is $400,000, they may only require a $100,000 match. And you cannot use federal funding maybe that you received previously as your match to a new federal funding opportunity. So going back to reviewers looking at your applications, these are real reviewer comments, and some of the feedback that I've seen in the past, I've reviewed, and of course I've had applications that I've prepared, reviewed, and researching some outcomes. These are some that I've located. The problem statement, such as it is too global, showing no relationship to reality with potential solution being indicated or even possible. So what you're talking about does not match the solution that you're offering. So if you're saying something along the lines of, we're going to end teen pregnancy with $10,000 or $15,000, or we're going in our community or in our region, and these are the objectives or action plans that we're going to do, that we plan on putting in place, and it doesn't align with what you're saying and the amount that you're requesting. So you just want to make sure that all that is in line. The problem that you're stating has been studied to death. I'm surprised the writer doesn't know this. So you want to make sure that you're educated on what you're talking about, and that it is useful and applicable and engaging to the funder. It is almost impossible to understand what the author wants to study or what the main theme is. The proposal is full of jargon and totally unclear, as stated. And again, you want to stay away from jargon and acronyms and being unclear. I cannot ascertain what approach the researcher will take in examining the problem as outlined. You want to avoid these comments being made about your application. So an example I have is Meals on Wheels. Everyone majority of people, I guess I should say, are familiar with Meals on Wheels, a program that delivers food services to the community, specifically individuals that are not mobile, that comes to their home or maybe to a place of worship or to a community center. Everyone knows that they can go to this location to receive meals. So I put together I guess this would be like a summary or abstract of what Meals on Wheels USA does. Meals on Wheels USA, founded in 1998, provides weekly nutritious meals to immobile individuals. Through extensive marketing research, our two-person team partnered with the local food pantry to determine individuals they serve and those that they are unable to help due to lack of transportation. From these findings, we have a particular group to provide this service. So from this paragraph alone, you can build this out by saying, through extensive marketing research, our two-person team has partnered with local food pantry to determine individuals that they serve that they are unable to help due to lack of transportation. You could say marketing research has shown us that our food pantry is serving these many individuals. So our food pantry in the community is serving this many individuals, but are unable to provide services to these homes and in this region. And this part of the community, maybe there's more, this shows a higher percentage of lower income families. Maybe 1 out of every 8 homes has transportation. And that's what you discover. So when you want to say, if you're going to say through extensive marketing research, you want to talk about what you found. This basically, it would be your need statement. You need to provide research, reputable research from your findings, whether it be from the state, the county, the Census Bureau, or even discussing with the food pantry if they have any outcomes that they have found or located. And it's great that you are partnering with the food pantry. The food pantry delivers services for people that can come to the pantry, and you're feeling a need, a specific need, by partnering with an organization that already has these services. Even if you're helping them even collect additional meals to deliver to other individuals or families. Going into the second paragraph, the overall goal is to help these individuals that lack transportation gain access to weekly meals without leaving their home. This service was created specifically with the target group in mind. As the program has evolved, we have partnered with case managers to obtain resources to prepare the meals to arrive hot and ready made for individuals. Again, within this paragraph, you talk about, as the program has evolved, we have partnered with case managers, and the case managers typically provide more social services and needs that look like, and you can detail those out as well. And let's see, so case managers to obtain resources to prepare the meals to arrive hot and ready made for individuals. So you just you're inputting case management services, determining individuals' need, and you're making sure that you're sticking to your initial point of service, the reason for service, which is Meals on Wheels to deliver hot and ready-made meals for individuals. And in the final paragraph, discuss Meals on Wheels USA strives to have a positive impact on the community because no one should lack nutritious resources with food readily available and accessible in this area. Where the problem requires transportation and preparation, Meals on Wheels USA, that should be USA, provides the solutions to bring the food directly to the individual. So you're delivering a solution. You found a unique problem and you're delivering a solution. Within now online grant applications, a lot of them have what is our lovely word count, so you're limited to generally what you can say, and so a lot of times it's more difficult to build things out or expound or expand, so you have to be crafty with your explanations, but you do want to make sure you're explaining, again, going back to the first paragraph, through your extensive marketing research. That sounds great, but you want to discuss what you discovered. How you discuss in the second paragraph, the case managers, what services are they offering, what impact has that made, and what are the specific services that your families need in the community that you're serving. And in the final paragraph, I would just add Meals on Wheels strives to have a positive impact on the community because no one should lack nutrition to food readily. And you could just go into the need of food in the community, specifically with those that are mobile, how they can access readily available meals, and the impact that you've had from our services in over the first 6 months. We've been delivered 100 hot ready meals over this time period to these many families. So I would end it with impact, with numbers, real numbers, to highlight your impact. So you, again, going back to the Meals on Wheels example, you want to use statistics, as I was referencing, using the census data, city data, to highlight the problem and delivering the solution that you are offering. Again, you're just appealing to senses, sight, smell, touch. You can't be any clearer than we serve this many families over this amount of time in this location. I use the example of another example outside of Meals on Wheels would be like there's no after school program for at-risk children within this community. Or if you're in a more rural area, you can use the impactful example. There's no program for at-risk children within 50 miles. If you're in a metro area, you're like, well, there's after-school programs all over the place. But what is taking place in your community, your region, your even census tract? No after-school programs feed into this problem school, this middle school or this high school. Most of the students that are in this middle school, they go into these high schools. They have nothing. There are no after-school programming, no robotics programming, no STEM programming for anything. So there are statistics to support that. So you just want to highlight that. And going back to the Best Buy example, we talked about like describing your project, discussing the goal and the objectives, the activities that are taking place, what is being delivered, and the timelines for those activities. In your project description, you'll even talk about staffing, your budget. Make sure your budget matches your staffing in the project description. The actual staff that it takes to deliver the project, their salary, how you're evaluating the program, whether that be surveys, outcomes, if it's a school-based program, pre- and post-test assessments, and you want to highlight sustainability, how your program will continue outside of this one particular grant funding. So you want to talk about how you are receiving maybe individual donors, you get federal awards, you do fundraising, events. So you want to highlight all of your different basically income streams that come into your organization. So going back to evaluation, what does success look like for your project? If you're trying to build this out, you kind of want to reverse engineer and determine what a healthy program or positive outcomes will look like and how to get to that. How are your goals and objectives measurable? Again, going back to using surveys or pre- and post-tests. What will be done with the evaluation information? Who is collecting this? Who is conducting quality control? Even if it's an instructor, making sure that task is specifically assigned to someone, especially when it comes to managing your program. And again, I'll have that sustainability in here again, how this will continue after the grant. So your organization capacity, you'll see in some grant applications that will ask, describe your organizational capacity. Does your organization serve 5 counties? What's the region? Or do they serve a 1-county region? Your day your organization was founded, your mission, your structure, your expertise and programs that you offer, your history and success of providing these programs, your information of staff, your information of board, your information of if you have a large staff, maybe 50 plus people, you want to even highlight your key staff members, your president, chief financial officer, your senior program director. If you're just a smaller staff, then you want to highlight, of course, the ED, executive director or president. If you have a senior, like program director, senior director of programs, or senior over director of development. I'm trying to think of senior level positions, and I'm drawing a blank. Even a senior HR role, you want to make sure you have staff, like biography. Sometimes they'll even ask for those key staff member resumes. So just have, those are some attachments just to think about, to include. So the budget, I had a list here of just things that a general budget has is salary, benefits, insurance, legal, accounting, equipment, and sometimes they'll ask for a budget. A budget. What's it called? Justification. So on each expense line item, you have to justify the budget. What does this mean exactly? So you'll have to put it in narrative form. Is basically what it means. So if you're requesting a percentage of a staff member's salary, you're just going to detail that out in the narrative. You're going to talk about personnel versus non-personnel staff and highlight their roles. The overhead, which is basically the cost to run your program, and also reviewing from the funder what's allowed and what's not allowed. They will just state explicitly that if we do not cover salaries or we do not cover any overhead costs, so you want to pay attention to that. So common attachments, I kind of jumped the gun when I was talking about staff and the biography. Sometimes they may even ask for your staff biographies, which is can be an attachment, or staff resumes. But your general, just common attachments that are asked in pretty much every application is your 501c3. They want to make sure that you are a true 501c3. A 990 is not typically asking every application, but sometimes you will have to provide it because it's public information, so you could just pull it up. Anybody can pull it up. So, but sometimes they will ask for the entire form, which of course, if you have a nonprofit, you're aware it is multiple pages. Most recent financial statements, audits are sometimes requested, a third-party audit. Your current program operational budget, again, going back to the after-school example, or even your Meals on Wheels, what is the budget to operate the program? Board list is probably in 99% of applications. You want to have a list of your board members, their names, their roles, their job, their function, contact information. I've even seen some funders ask for their contact information, but you can let them know that we don't disclose this information if you don't want to expose that information from your board. Because, I mean, I personally wouldn't want to share my board's contact information because it's like sharing your staff's information, because board list is their personal information, whatever they choose to share with you. So I don't think it's necessary to tell them that, but you can just make a note, available upon request if they really need it, and they never ask for it. Sometimes they also ask for a signed W-9, so when they get ready to send your check, you'll already have it. And going back to financial statements, the audited financial statement or your audit. So some organizations, they do not get third-party audits because of their costs. So I've even seen some nonprofits do what they call an internal audit, and they may have another review or have someone review it as a service free of charge. And I've even seen those be accepted. So making sure that your program is sustainable, it can run outside of these grants, outside of the grant award. What are all the income options coming in to your program? So if you're running an after school program, are the students selling maybe art, or are you doing any type of fundraising? So any streams of income that come into your program, you want to share that in your sustainability plan. Earn income options. Even if your organization delivers affordable training classes. If you do any monthly giving campaigns, again, going back to fundraising, sponsorship, partnerships, any special event fundraising, you want to highlight all of that in your sustainability plan. So you may make sure your programs are run and sustainable, and you are choosing to change lives. For more information, or to reach out to me, or to ask me any questions, or if you like any clarity on anything that I said, I also do more detailed trainings like on grant research, how to find funders that fund your specific programs or specific services that you provide. I do a training separately on that alone, or more detailed grant writing training. This was just a real quick overview on a general understanding for those are requesting like grants. They may her grants to start a business or grants for their nonprofit that are just getting started. I just wanted to highlight the importance of having impact and showing current results before pursuing those grant opportunities. But you can reach me. Send me an email at Deronda at junefirstfirm.com. Or my website is junefirstfirm.com. Thank you for your time, and you have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.